Hi, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today on FM Influencers. We have a really great guest today called Zack Doll. And Zack is the Aquatic Director at the Bethlehem Township Community Center in Bethlehem Township, Pennsylvania. So thank you so much for joining us, Zack. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Zack and I met each other, kind of a funny thing. I was up in Maine swimming, and I was working with one of our swimmers from India that had come over, and I met somebody in this beautiful facility they have in Maine, in Boothbay Harbor, Maine. It's called Boothbay Region YMCA. One of the guys that was in there said, "You really got it. You come from Bethlehem?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "I come from Bethlehem. Have you ever tried the Bethlehem Township Community Center?" I said, "No, I didn't even know it existed." He says, "You got to swim there. It's fantastic." And he says, "Make sure you talk to Zack Doll when you get there." Like, okay, I don't know, Zack. So I went in there, and what a gorgeous facility you guys have. You were kind enough to allow us to bring that same swimmer from India here and work with her here in Pennsylvania. It really reduced the burden. You and I got a chance to meet each other, know each other. I feel like we've been kind of friends ever since, which is great. It's nice. It's nice to do business, but it's even nicer to have good friends. Tell us a little bit about your position and what you do there in the Bethlehem Township Community Center.
I've been there since 2006. We opened February 2006. I joined slightly after that. I think it was like a month after we opened. My day-to-day stuff is just overseeing the aquatics, maintenance, lifeguard staff, aqua exercise, swim lessons, cleanliness, all that stuff. It's a job I definitely enjoy. It's fun waking up and heading into work. I never really have a bad day over there. And I've been the Aquatics Director, like I said, for it's coming up on 16 years.
Wow. 16 years is amazing. And
I know.
Just really, right? It goes fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's really amazing. How did you get started over there and kind of begin your career there?
I went to East Stroudsburg University. I graduated in 2002. I got an internship down at another community center in Plymouth Meeting. I was kind of on the programming side, like doing stuff with camps, running a couple of basketball stuff, helping out. I was an intern, so we really didn't have a lot of stuff thrown at me. I was kind of like just learning. I have my lifeguarding certification. I think I've been a lifeguard since I was 16. I remember taking my lifeguarding my first time at the Quakertown YMCA in like 1995. I think I've had lifeguarding. I think I let lapse 1 year. I was down working at Plymouth Meeting, and I talked to the aquatics director because they really had this nice facility, like aquatic facility, 11-lane lap pool, and then they had like a activity pool. I think they called it the leisure pool at the time. I said, "Hey, if you ever need help and it's okay with my supervisor, I do have my lifeguarding certification." His name was Harry, still friends with him today. He kind of like looked at me with like that look, you kind of get like, "Ooh, I might be able to use you." And then I found out that they were short-staffed. My job as an intern from programming intern kind of moved over to aquatics. You know, I always felt comfortable around the pool. I kind of always enjoyed it. I grew up in Coopersburg, where I spent a lot of time at the Center Lehigh pool. I was kind of a pool rat in the summertime. Never really did much like swimming for competition, but just more for fun and leisure. And then I worked for Plymouth Township for about 3.5 years. After my intern, they did hire me. I really enjoyed the job, but I wanted to move closer to Lehigh Valley. So I got the job at Bethlehem Township. And that's when I started, was March 2006. It was a really busy day. I remember going into work that day, and I hit the ground running because the kids had off from school and we just opened. So we were really new. It was a good experience. Kind of rough go, but it ended up being great.
That's fantastic. Tell us a little bit about your aquatic facility there, because you have a gorgeous facility, and it's right in this park-like setting, right? It's just beautiful. Tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
The parks that we're located on has probably been there for like 30, 40 years, maybe even longer. So they built it in 2004, 2005, completed 2006. Our pool itself, the natatorium, is a 6-lane lap pool, ADA accessible. We have the easy ladder, and then we also have a ramp going in, which is very helpful to a lot of people that have trouble getting in pools.
Yeah, I love that ramp.
Yeah. I mean, it's great for the kids. It's great for the seniors. It's great for anybody that has some issues, you know, going down a ladder or using some steps. So it's definitely great. We also have a steam room, and then we also have a dry sauna, and then we have a hot tub. My favorite part is the outside, where we have an outdoor pool And that's mainly like just a recreation pool for all the, the members and the residents of the township and surrounding areas, where that's, I think it's like over 6,000 square feet, maybe a little bit bigger, and then it's 142,000 gallons. So it's a pretty big pool, a lot of features. And I wish I had a picture of the water slide, because that's what really draws a lot of
That
people
is
to the outdoor pool.
that one. And I love that mushroom. All the kids see that mushroom, and you have that. It's so nice. Then you have these great locker rooms out there. It's just a beautiful area for people to enjoy.
Right.
And it's really nice, both inside and outside. Aesthetically, it's a great place. It's very attractive, and I think you do, if I'm right, a lot of work to keep it that way and keep them running beautifully, and open the pool, close them, right, and just really keep on top of it, which makes all the difference. Because when a pool kind of gets going kind of downhill, you could tell right away. And you guys keep it up so nicely. And you guys just did some work on that indoor pool, even right during the in
2017 we had a complete renovation. Especially, it was more for the air quality. When the place was built, I think the contractors kind of cut some corners, and it wasn't really flagged when they were making the building, unfortunately. So we had to go back, Bethlehem Township had to go back, spend some money and get it fixed and make it right. So a new roof was put on. We got a new air handling system called the InnoVent. Anybody, that runs a pool and needs a handling system, I really think InnoVent's a good way to go. Less movable parts. It really makes the environment really well. We also got the pool replastered. Everything was painted. We still kept the tile floors, and the rails. So it wasn't 100% new. We kept what was still good and built from there. So the air quality got a lot better. Water quality got a little bit better too. We added a UV, which really helps with this, sanitation process. Just really helps the cleanliness. It cuts down on the smell, that pool smell. Everybody thinks it's chlorine. Right. When it's really chlorines, the aftermath of the sanitation of the chlorine hitting like a organic material. So it's a lot kind of cleaner. I don't want to say it's easier to clean, because you still have to keep up on cleaning. You still have to keep up on maintenance. You can't overlook that kind of stuff. Any pool operator will tell you the moment you kind of don't have that, you're going to have problems down the road, and they're not fun problems to have at all.
And you stay on top of it. You really, I think that's one of the big reasons I wanted to have you on here, is you're so exceptional. You have such a unique management style. It's very easy and comfortable, as at least from you're watching from the outside. At the same time, it's not lax at all. People are really on it there. And so your whole staff is really working together. And I'm just kind of wondering, you've had some real achievements, whether sometimes you recognize them or not, but I recognize them going from pool to pool, and I can see what an outstanding job you've done here. What are some of the accomplishments that you're most proud of?
There's probably a few. I think the biggest one right now, and the one that's probably going to be the longest lasting one, is the amount of kids pre-COVID. We're not back to where we were. The volume of kids that we taught to learn how to swim. I'm a big learn to swim guy. I really think that's one of the most important life lessons for children, is to learn how to swim. I'm not sure how many kids we taught, from 2006 up until, the shutdown of when we had to close in March of 2020. We were really having a lot of, swim lessons. We had, a lot of lessons in the summertime, in the morning, in the outdoor pool. We had lessons 7 days a week in the indoor pool during, from September to May. COVID kind of made that go away. But if there was one thing I'm definitely super proud of, it's just making sure kids were safe around the pool. I owe a big gratitude to my staff throughout the years. Hopefully the ones that are older are recognizing hey, I taught a lot of kids how to swim. They might not, they might have just seen it as a job, but I have really good instructors. And as you said, really good staff. And the most important thing that I feel that we do is the accomplishment is keeping people safe, and then teaching people how to swim, kids, adults, anybody.
Tell me a little bit about, because again, I think the facility is one thing, but what brings life to a facility isn't the facility itself. It's what's inside it, who's inside it, the character, and it shows it, right? Whether it's a tense one or a happy facility that you want to go to, what are the employees like? You go into that desk, man, they are so welcoming. How can I help you? And it's all very professional, right? You come in and once in a while you'll see the management team there. They seem how do they work with you? Because it just seems like everything's very harmonious.
we just have really good chemistry together. The community center director, Jackie, she's very good at just not micromanaging and just kind of letting us do our thing. The other directors, we all just get our work done. Whenever we need something, we have the right people to ask. Some, all part-time people. Feel like the people that work for us want to be there, and they come to the community center, they do what's asked. So fortunately, we just had good people in the past. And good people right now.
More or less that it's not luck. I tell you, I think you guys, it's great work together. It's just a really great team, and you're a big part of that. How do you nurture your staff that's underneath you? Because this is what I see. I see a hardworking, professional, highly dedicated staff, and they're on it. They're not in any way. I don't see like any barking or yelling, but what happens is the people are safe and you know it. They don't let a lot of messing around going around. At the same time, you already know you're walking into that environment. Whereas I went to a pool a little while ago and they made this gorgeous pool, but the kids were just going wild in there. Nobody was doing anything. They're just watching an accident waiting to happen. You guys are making sure that those don't happen and the people feel safe, not restricted. How do you do that? How do you nurture a staff that does that? I mean, because you've got quite a group of people, especially in the summer, right? Got a lot of lifeguards there.
Yeah, I mean, this year was a little bit different where I felt the shortage like everybody else did, and we had to kind of cut back on who was allowed to use the pool. We didn't allow the non-residents to use it, unfortunately. Where this summer it was just residents, and then they had to become members, and then eventually we let resident day passes in. But to answer your question, I don't know if I have like a definite answer. I think when you're a lifeguard, you through the American Red Cross, you learn a certain way. And I just try to keep enforcing like what you learn in class. Like I don't really change things around too much. And I tailor it to our facility. The emergency action plan is going to be different from one place to another. I've been fortunate for lifeguards. I'm glad, and thank you for the kind words about my staff. They are great people. And they do a good job. I work with them and I tell them what we expect to the orientation before they even sit down and start guarding. And I have a lot of older, like senior guards. Not so much now. They kind of all, left since the shutdowns and stuff, unfortunately. So it's kind of like a big rebuild years. It's becoming like into the second year. I just try to find some mature people. And I'm one of those managers as well. And maybe this is the biggest key is where I'm lifeguarding too. So if I'm out there lifeguarding, like I'm doing what I expect my staff to do. And, hopefully they see that. And then they have other guards that are a little bit older, been around a lot longer.
Kind of leading by example.
Yeah, leading by example is probably the best.
And you
in
also
my mind,
teach, right? You also teach the lessons. I've seen you in the pool before.
I do a lot of lessons. If I ask my staff to teach lessons, I'm going to be in the water teaching lessons. If I tell them during in-service to swim at 300, I'm going to make sure I swim at 300 with them so they know that I can do it. I'm the old guy now, so I have to make sure like I could kind of keep up with the youth. I
could tell you one time, this will tell you kind of an opposite example of this. I went into a facility, which I won't mention the name, but I saw a guy and he was throwing a rubber duck, no joke, back to the pool. He's a lifeguard and the only lifeguard. And he's throwing a rubber duck against the wall. And he stayed there doing that for maybe 20 or 30 minutes when he had senior citizens in the water.
Yeah.
Right. And a senior citizen have a heart attack or something like that, boom, he'd have no idea. That's not something when you walk in your place, there's always a happy hi, a friendly, right? Hey, and they're getting to know and connecting with the people that are in the water. And it's really neat because then they know if something's going on, if you're having a bad day or something, like they'll at least know that something's going on because that, connection. And I really, my hat's off to you on that, because we were actually hired one time in a pool to come in because they had 3 drownings in this pool. And we were brought in to stop that, which is what we did. And one of the things we did was stay connected to that group. I'm just going to tell a real quick story for our audience. And this is something that I always repeat because I think it's so important when we talk about what your responsibilities are if you're a lifeguard. And when you're working with someone like Zack, this is already clearly set out. And that's why you'd want, if let's say you have kids and you want them to get a good experience in their first jobs and things like this, that they come up through a great mentor like Zack. Here's what happened. I was given a clinic, and this guy came up to me and he said, "John, I'm bringing my son in here." And he says, I really want to let you know that my son is very important to me. He says, no. He says, I don't think you're understanding. Now, I had a whole group of people coming in, maybe 50 people coming in. And he says, I want to be really explicit about this. My son is really important to me. I said, okay, I don't quite understand. He says, I'm going to say it one more time. My son is really important to me. And then I'm going to tell you why. I used to have a daughter and a son, and I still would have a daughter and a son had the lifeguard been watching when somebody dove on her head, but he wasn't. He was talking to girls. And now I have a son, and he's really important to me. That penetrated me for life. That story, and I'm talking to the guy, and I know the pool he was in. I've been there. My team raced there in Ohio. And I said, I understand the drama. I understand why you gave it to me that way. I totally understand right now why you're saying this. And I think it's really important when you work for someone like Zack and the guidelines are there and the intent is there and you're trying to keep people safe and you realize what is actually at risk. Man, what a great experience you're going to have. But in that other pool that I was telling you about, like where they're just going wild, what are the opportunities for people to be their heads dove on, not and miss something? I mean, we've lifeguarded for years, both you and I. And we know that if you're off a little bit that day or you're really not on it, then that something could happen. And the one moment it happens, it's hard to live with that. And so thank you so much, because my daughters are in your pool. My wife's in your pool. I'm in your pool. And your staff, whether you're there or not there at that moment, your staff is enacting what you put in place. So thank you for protecting us all.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, I'm glad you see it. I mean, they do work hard. I really, and back to the one question you asked, doing in-services really help. Just get there. You can't let somebody go 2 years without doing an in-service like the American Red Cross Lifeguard CPR certification is good for. So kids forget stuff, adults forget stuff, what they learn in the class. So, backboarding, people always forget a couple things. And if you do, in services one every quarter or even more, you kind of keep everybody a little bit fresher. But that message that you just gave, that's something that people don't think about and really should, like the aftermath if something tragic does happen. Yeah.
It's immense. I think a lot of people don't realize that, there's nothing more important to a person than their children. You'll let your house burn down, whatever, take anything, but your children. That's right. That's our future. And what you guys are doing, sometimes people don't understand. You're guarding the most valuable thing that we'll ever possess. And folks, if you're watching this and you're a parent and you're watching this, Zack and I will both talk to this, I'm sure. Even though you have incredible staffs, always watch your children when they're in the water yourself. It doesn't hurt to have another pair of eyes on watching your kids. Don't just turn them loose and think, even though we've got great professional staffs that work there, you always want to protect your child and watch to, help out. It doesn't hurt.
That's like the best thing. I always have to talk to like one or two parents every year because their kids definitely not swimming where they should be. They're going out a little bit too far. And the lifeguards focusing, they have a zone. They're guarding a zone, like an area, and they're responsible for that. Most zones overlap. There's a couple in our outdoor pool that don't overlap just because of the shape and design of the outdoor pool. But when you have a kid that's not the strongest swimmer in your zone, that lifeguard's full attention is on that kid right there. And the problem is they're not as attentive to everybody around there. Once I see that, or a lifeguard communicates with myself or one of my supervisors, we usually cat the kid out, have the kid come out, talk to the parents, be like, look, we don't mind swimming there. We just need you in the water with them, being next, within arm's length, or he should go where he could stand in the shallow area, just because the lifeguard's attention solely focused on this child when there's like 15 or 20 other kids in that area. So, lifeguards should identify that. As the supervisor and the manager, I should, be identifying that as well. When you go to the pool, I see you all the time. You're swimming with your kids. If you're not swimming, you're watching your kids. And as far as lifeguarding goes, there's nothing better for a lifeguard that's sitting there just watching a whole pool full of people. Kids are the ones that you definitely have to watch a little bit more clearly versus a lap swimmer, because lap swimmers are competent swimmers. Apart from any medical situations, they're going to be walking out. They're going to get their yardage in and just head to the locker rooms. kids, you just don't know. They're all wild cards when they get in the pool. And that's kind of what I tell my staff. Like, they might be the best swimmers in the world, but kids get tired or something else could happen. So, and our outdoor pool is just filled with kids all summer. So it's good to have that. And then when summer ends, they come inside where kids go back to school. And then we just see them after hours or in swim lessons. And then the pool's mainly kind of just filled with lap swimmers. And
you're not trying to restrict them. You're trying to make sure that it's safe for them. Yes. Sometimes the parents, oh, well, they might give a little hard time or something, but it doesn't. The big thing is this, not just to follow the rules, but to realize that the rules are there to protect your kids. Now, my coach, Doc Counsilman, very famous coach, his son, Brian, was swimming in his pool after Doc Counsilman had passed away. And his mom was right there. He is a swimming expert. He wrote books with Doc Counsilman, right? And amazing. And he was in the water. He was a little heavy set his whole life, things like this. And in the water, he had a heart attack. And the first thing he did was like this, and he inhaled. And when he inhaled water, and he was dead on the spot. This was the greatest coach of all time, his son. And he died right there in the pool. So, and he wasn't that old. He was in his 50s. As a lifeguard, you got to be ready to move. And we know that your staff is ready to do that. And we hope that other staffs get prepared and take a lesson from the types of things that people like you are doing to keep this community safe and to make it an enjoyable, fun time, because it's never a fun time after something like that happens. And we dealt with it in the pool that we had, right? That before we came and we solved that problem, the folks there were just kind of doing their own thing. And the kids that were lifeguarding were actually more of a problem than if they weren't there and it was just an open pool, right? Because you think that they've got it handled. And sometimes you don't watch. We really, as a family and as a company, appreciate your professionalism and what you're bringing to the community. The whole entire place there that I'm seeing, not just in the pool, is really running wonderfully well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for those kind words. My coworkers, there's 4 of us that are full-time, and they're all great people. We all really get along well together and work, I guess, as a team. We just kind of manage our own areas. And then there's a certain, overlap areas that we kind of all handle as well. We all just work really well together. When you, as you know, when you have a good team and you work well with them, everything's, and there's no animosity. It's all just not having fun, but it makes it fun because we all kind of get along,
right? Yeah.
We just do everything that we need to do.
Working together. Yeah. You could see it. Everybody's, shaking hands, and it's really nice. So we know right now, you're mentioning the hiring, what the hiring environment's like today. We know also there's an overall lack of lifeguards in the country. Now, this is much more serious than people might think. Some pools can't open, or they can't open for certain times. And what that does is this incredible opportunity. A lot of people don't realize it in this country. Like, you go to China or some other country, and they don't have that same type of opportunity. There's not enough pools for people to get in and things like this. And for us, we know, like, swim teams that get in there and all the different incredible activities that you provide for, right, the seniors doing the aqua aerobics and, right, the learn to swim and all these things that are serving the community. You don't have lifeguards, that pool can't open, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's really important, folks, that we make sure, if we can, to keep that flowing for the community. Because I realize, like, my daughter just joined a swim team. And I didn't urge her to, but she found a friend and got on a swim team. What we realize is what the benefits. When you lose pool time, you lose way more, because these kids are really, really great. They're in there, hardworking, dedicated, great grades. Everything is kind of moving forward. And then ask yourself if you want them in that type of program that's progressive and helping these kids develop. Those are the future leaders of our communities. And when you take that pool time away, you take the guidance of people like Zach that can help the kids really develop. You take that away because they don't have the time anymore to be with these incredible mentors. So you really want that pool filled. It's not about, and yes, it costs money to build pools and to maintain pools. It's so much more than just getting in water. The staff you're developing, the people that are under them, the kids that you're developing, and they're sometimes feeding our swim teams and things like all these things together make this great aquatic community. And there's more. But our programs are really important to our community. So let me ask you this. What do you attribute this decrease in lifeguards to at this point? We know there's COVID and things like that. What's going on?
Probably COVID, and a lot of maybe parents or kids don't want to maybe work, or they're not, they don't have to work like they used to, or the parents might not want them to get a job and just focus on school and maybe not being exposed to COVID. I think it's just with lifeguarding, to be a lifeguard, you have to take a class. With the Bethlehem Community Center, we accept American Red Cross lifeguarding. I'm an instructor, and I have about 3, 4, 5 other instructors on staff that can run classes. Those are the ones that I want to run, in services for my staff, because they've been taught by Red Cross instructors, and they know the Red Cross way. And the more you practice that, the better off you're going to be.
Pouring it in, is that right?
Yeah, it comes to a point where it's automatic, and that's what you really, really want. Once you're go through the class once, you get you get everything, but sometimes you forget. So I think the reason for lifeguard shortage is just a lot of people aren't doing those classes. And if you think about what is involved with the class, you are touching people. You are, using victim. You are, if you have 5 people in the class, 6 people in the class, 4 people in the class, however it might be, you're using them as victims. You're getting kind of close. A lot of facilities, as ours did too, when we first opened back up from COVID, we weren't really allowed to do like hands-on stuff, which made, in services a little bit more challenging. But with the class, I think a lot of, maybe parents or kids or even older people wouldn't want to take a class and jeopardize getting COVID or catching COVID. You're also doing CPR with mannequins, and you're kind of inflating their lungs. What we did getting back into lifeguarding is we just had like a lot of siblings kind of take the class together, and they kind of worked on their own mannequins, and we kind of just kept it that way. But I feel like a lot of classes weren't being offered for a good maybe year, maybe even longer. And if you don't have a year, if you had to take a year off from certifying people to become lifeguards, there's going to be a shortage. If you do have someone even certified and they need to recert every 2 years for American Red Cross, you need your recert. Some of those people never got their recert, so they just kind of maybe went to a different job versus lifeguarding. So that's kind of my opinion, those couple factors.
Why is the training of a lifeguard so important?
Red Cross, probably, who knows how much time they spend getting that curriculum together. That's where you learn like basically everything when it comes to emergencies. Lifeguards are first responders, basically. They're the ones overlooking everything. If a medical emergency happens, emergency action plan, make the rescue, have somebody call 911, and then emergency action plan starts. Quicker you kind of get that activated, the better off you are. Red Cross is really good about kind of drilling that into everybody's heads. Those 28, I think it's like 28 and a half hours, 29 hours of class time is super important. And then just after that, as a pool operator and someone that manages the pool, just doing not research, but just getting them back in for in services and whatever else, and occasional tests.
So those people that are on staff there, those lifeguards,
yeah,
they're literally a lifeline for those people that are in the pool. If anything happens, and things can happen, right? And if anything happens, that's why you have that. That's a lifeline that Zach and his team is putting in place for those people in case and when that happens, to actually keep that person alive and get them to where they need to go. And so if they're not trained, or if they forget that training and they're thinking about other things and they're not on target, this is what's so tough about being lifeguard, is staying on target and knowing what to do on the multiple situations that can happen. And if they don't have that type of staff, they don't have that type of leadership, if they don't take it seriously and they're throwing rubber ducks across the pool into the wall, you've got a recipe for a problem if anybody's got a heart issue. And believe me, when they're throwing those rubber ducks on the wall, they have no idea what's going on in somebody's heart inside the pool. And if they're not paying attention, they're putting you at risk. And that's where people like Zach and his group there, from management down to the deck and over to the hospital if needed, is really comes in. And so when you have your kids involved in this program, they're learning something really beneficial that they're not going to learn in school. And when they are that, they're different in life as they pass through life. They're more on the safety side. They're trying to make sure people are protected. It's a very different growing up when you get into lifeguarding versus if you're working in a pretzel place that's selling pretzels or something like that, right? It's a different experience. So
Right.
is that training worth it? Not just for the money you're going to make, the experience you're going to have when you're protecting people's lives is invaluable. In regards to like positions that you have, because I know this has impacted almost every facility across the U.S. trying to keep lifeguards and and staff on the deck. What kind of positions do you currently have like that you would be trying to fill?
Lifeguarding, swim instructors, aqua exercise instructors. I kind of need it all. I mean, we've been short staffed. I'm sure you see me lifeguarding a lot. I've been really putting a lot of lifeguard hours lately, which I really enjoy lifeguarding because I get to kind of just talk to people and just walk around and, obviously watch the pool, but I get to really see my, who's using the pool a little bit more. I feel like I do better like walking around than behind a computer, but, I do have a lot of other stuff to do that behind the scenes.
Yeah, it really shows that you like your job. I mean,
I definitely do. It's a perfect job for me because I'm not someone that likes to sit around. I can't like focus for a long period of time. I don't have it. It's not in my DNA. So I'm in the pump room for like 30 minutes doing something, cleaning something, backwashing, whatever. Then I go check on something else, maybe clean a little something and then answer some emails, phone calls, then go out lifeguard and then, maybe teach a couple lessons. So my days go very quickly, which I really enjoy. To anybody that wants to become a lifeguard, I think it's just a really good opportunity. I always tell people it's a really pretty easy job, but it comes with a lot of responsibility. I would hope that people that do take the class and do want to become lifeguards realize the responsibility and what you might have to do. Training is one thing, but when everything kind of happens, you do have a medical emergency, you do have a situation, you have to act and you can't freeze up. So it's definitely not for everybody. I've had people on staff that you could tell it's not really a job for them, but then, majority, it's a lot of them put it together and they kind of realize the severity of it. And I think some of them like definitely maybe grow up a little bit more or just kind of recognize what position they're in when they're sitting up on the lifeguard stand watching 25 kids in their zone or teaching a swim lesson. So yeah.
And once you develop a staff like that, it seems like it almost seeps into everybody that joins that staff. And by the way, if they were to come and work in the Bethlehem Township Community Center with you, would they actually be able to meet you and work with you as well as the other staff? Is that right?
Oh, definitely. We don't really right now. I mean, my staff is like diminished compared to where we were when we did swim lessons in the evening. We're not doing group lessons right now, just private lessons. And I'm around a lot. I mean, I live like a mile and a half away and I'm there when I need to be there. I mean, I do have 2 kids, so I do my fair share of running them to soccer practice or swim practice or wherever they have to be. But yeah, for the majority of the time, I'm around. I do all the hiring. I have Jess, who is the super awesome. I mean, Jess really well too.
Yeah.
And she's great. So she's a person that I would really try to get a new guard to kind of hang with for a little bit, work with. So, Jess would definitely kind of, her and I are the same in a lot of ways. So she would
she was a former kind of college swimming coach, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you got such a great staff, and you have all these incredible people. So they'd be actually working in such a great environment, all the way from the management team down on the deck, everybody. And then what happens is your patrons become even better because they start to get to know, what things are like in a great organization. They become part of it. So A to Z to bring that environment. It's really, a lot of times when they're talking about developing a really great environment, atmosphere, you are a big part of that. Zach, thank you so much for joining us today. If you folks have an interest, if you have somebody that that might want to be a lifeguard or might want to be a swim instructor, have them contact Zach. How do they contact you if they're interested?
I have an email for the township email. It's Z as in Zach, D as in dog, OLL at Bethlehem, TWP for short for township.com.
And can you give that one more time?
It's ZDOLL at Bethlehem, TWP.com. And you can always look us up on the internet and or call the community center 610-332-1900. And actually my extension is 610-332-1842, 610-332 1842 will go directly to my phone line. Yep.
It's a beautiful facility, a beautiful setting, an incredible staff, and a great opportunity. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. Zach, again, thank you so much for joining us.